Right, okay, so I've been into the shed. I've cut 4 dihedral braces, which is a start, and I've cut out 2 ribs of 1/16 ply. I need 17 of those and 32 of those. I've got a bit of 16th balsa, so let's get going. What method are you going to use, Cliff? I'm going to use the cut him out slowly method and enjoy every single cut method. Only certain ribs have these cutouts for the struts, so I'm going to ignore those for the time being. I can do a few along the bottom here. What I'll do when I've cut them out is to just stack them all together and give them a gentle sanding. What I do have to do though is cut out for the main spar, which is 1/8 of an inch. What I might do actually is to cut out just enough for one wing, and then while that wing's drying I can cut out these parts for the second wing. Carry on with this, guys, and I'll see you back later on. Okay guys, I've just cut out most of the parts for the lower wing and I'm just offering them into position really, just to make sure I've got the parts I want, and see what else I need to cut. So there we are. That's a start. I shall stop there, come back tomorrow fresh. I've got as far as I pinned down the main spar, which I cut out of a fairly hard 1/8 sheet, and I've got a bit of trailing edge section which I've cut down to roughly 15 by 3. I haven't put that rib in because I've got to cut, I haven't cut them yet. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I've still got to cut slots in the top and reinforcement for the strut positions going up. So I've got to cut that one, and R3 I haven't cut yet, there's a little one on the end. And this one here has a, I've got to cut a slot in the top to match that one, and the back half of the rib goes in after I've got to cut it to size after I've fitted these two, which take the boom. So I have to cut the slots a little bit wider to accept the dihedral braces. But you could build them separately if you didn't have a big enough building board, but as I have, I'll build them all in one go and then just cut it in half when the time comes. So I've got to cut a little bit out of these 4 to allow for the thickness of the dihedral braces either side. Okay, there we go then, guys. The wingtip in and the last rib. Same with that one. So all I've got to do now is the rib that contains the carbon rod. Boom. Each side. Done the boom. Done the boom sockets. I'll illustrate one for you. This is the lower boom. It'll go in there, go all the way to the bottom, and then you slice it flush. So that's one done. There are some centre ribs, by the way, that go here. Once I've cut it off, that's not the rib, wherever they are. That will go in there at the correct angle to match the fuselage sides. But Nick had quite a good idea to put these in once you've joined the wing with the dihedral braces, then you can butt that right up to the fuselage side and get it a really nice fit instead of sort of trying to guess it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to add these little bits now and then let them set, and then I can take the wing off. Well, before I take it off, I'll cut the centre section out, leading edge and trailing edge, according to the plan. The main spar stays in. I won't cut through that because the main spar passes through the fuselage. actually, tell a lie, I do have to cut the main spar because I have to add the dihedral brace either side of the main spar. So yes, it does need to be cut. This is that lovely moment, guys, when we release the wing from the building board. The plastic. And there it is. Feels pretty light. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sand everything, get it perfect, and then I'm going to cut this, glue in the dihedral brace, and then I'll put it up inside the fuselage and glue in the final wing ribs. Got the leading edge to do. I'll probably take that down with the plane. I was also forgetting one last thing. Once I've sanded everything, then I'm going to cut these section out for the ailerons and glue in some probably 3/16 both sides to act as hinge balsa, and then I'll have my ailerons cut out. But you don't cut the ailerons out till you've sanded everything, because you'll never get the contours to meet if it's not actually still joined. Okay, I've just been outside and sanded the wing. It's rather lovely actually. I'm quite pleased with it. But now I'm going to cut the wing into 2 bits, and I'm going to do that by possibly offering up the fuselage to the wing to get the exact width, because the fuselage is slightly wider than what's drawn on the plan. So if I cut the plan, I should be cutting it wrong. So I would say pretty much the center line on that double top wing rib. So I do cut down through there. It's just suddenly thinking, oh no, I've cut the main spar, but that's fine. The leading edge and trailing edge is discarded. The only bit that's kept is the main spar. You didn't have to make the lower wing in one piece, but it just makes for a much uniform leading edge. The first thing to do is just to glue these in and let it set. And I'm going to use white glue, so I'll give it an hour or two to set. One thing you must absolutely make sure of when you do this job is that the dihedral braces aren't in upside down. I've got a feeling I might have done something like that at one time. And then I want to make sure that these ends are level, and that one's got to be slightly manoeuvred. Okay, I'll put a couple of pegs on there, we'll let that set, and then we'll glue it in the other half. I don't think there's any reason why that can't go in actually, guys, so I'm going to glue that side in as well. Okay, we'll just slip that in there and push it down like that. Plenty of glue squeezing out, that's what we want to see. Right, I've taken the clamps off, guys, and it seems pretty good. So I'm going to pop this back in the middle. I know it's going to be not going to meet up as it did before because of the angles of the ends, but it'll help to add a little bit of strength between the plywood bearers. There you go, simple as that. Okay, I've stuck a piece of paper temporarily on the inside of these ribs just to make sure there's a small gap when I come to put the covering on. There we go. If I put some sellotape on this, it shouldn't stick. So I'm going to use white glue. I really don't want to stick the fuselage to the wing at this stage. Okay, here we go. Let's just drop that one in there. Down you go. Down you go. There we go. Beautiful. And the thickness of the paper on it should help it for produce an allowance for the covering. And this rib ultimately will be glued to the side of the fuselage. So I've left that deliberately over length so as I can trim it after the event. Okay, that went well enough. Let's do this one. I'll just tidy up that glue in a minute. The ailerons. Let's just put it in there. I can always add a bit more glue afterwards. That's a nice clunk the way that goes. And see how I got glue on there? Look, it's not going to stick to the fuselage now. It was a great idea, that was. Forgotten, which is going to be a little bit harder, and I'm kicking myself. And that was to make a slot for the servo wire to go on down. So I've got to try and do it, fiddle it in with a file instead of nice and easy when the time was right. Okay, there we are. We'll stop there and we'll let that set and come back to it very soon. I quite like building this way because I can glue a bit, walk away and do some sort of editing on the screen, and then come back an hour or two later and carry on a bit more. So it works well.
Now the next step is to split up. I probably put one completely aside.
Right, I'm going to cut the ailerons in, guys. Here is a little tip for you, and I'm just going to line up the longer black lines there to the edge of the trailing edge. There we are. No measuring required now. So as long as I do the same both sides, of course. And it's let's see, 1, 2, 3 bays. 1, 2, 3. So it's up to there. So I'm going to cut down through there. Just pencil mark it there, 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 and there. So that's where I'm going to cut through, and obviously I'm going to cut through here of the trailing edge. So I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to stick on something about, well, minimum 1/8 of an inch to take the hinges, possibly longer, thicker. I might have some soft-ish 3/16, which would do, give me a little bit more meat. So how do I do it? I'm going to cut straight down through there. And down there. You want to cut it pretty much vertically, really. So if I just hold that, and I'm going to cut right on that line, start it off. I'm going to move to the second rib along just to get things lined up. And then the last one is going to be the wingtip itself, which is exactly on that line. Do the next one. I want to try and go, I'll try and cut them all at once if I can, and then if they're not quite vertical, which isn't the end of the world if there isn't, but if it's not, then they're all going to be the same. Okay, there's one aileron. So I've got to put on, I'll use this as an example, I've got to put on a piece of wood there, sticking onto there, and I'll probably put a little gusset in the corner to beef that up. I'll need to cut another rib to go in here to finish off the aileron, and I also need to stick a bit of wood on the front leading edge of the aileron. But don't forget, you need to take off the amount thickness off of here of the wood that you're going to use, the two pieces. So if it's 3/16, I'll need to take off 6/16, which is 3/8 off of each one here. Otherwise the aileron's going to end up sticking out here somewhere. So I'm going to go and find a bit of wood, cut that in, and I'll be right back. So there it is. I've got it all wedged up, leading edge and the trailing edge, and the ribs. I've made an extra rib, I don't know if you can see it at the end here, rebaited it into the trailing edge, same as the others, and wedged the tip up to keep it in line. So there it is. We'll let that dry. Hi guys, so I'm just setting up the top wing now. I've decided to put the aileron servos in the top wing because then I can put the slots through and I'll run the wires down the cabanes. But the main spar's pinned in position and I'm just offering up the ribs and putting them in. The wing is just about done. Got all the twiddly bits in, and which are these bits really, the carbon receiving tubes. The wing tips are on. All I've got to do now is cut for the ailerons like I did on the other one. Again, little tip, hold it down while you're pulling any pins out. Hold the bit down. That pin should be stuck in the wood as much as it is stuck in the building board. It's going to pull the part that you're unpinning, pull it apart. We don't want that. No cliff, absolutely not cliff. Right, here we go. The best part of building anything is when you remove it from the building board for the very first time. That's it, here we go. And on this I can just lift it on the plastic and then just push the plastic down a bit. There we go. Hey, one top wing. So the tubes for the booms are now visible. I've squeezed them in a little bit, but look at it. That just needs to be opened out slightly on that bit there. Easily sorted though. Okay, so I'm going to make these center wing ribs, and then when they're made I cut through there. In fact, I'll probably cut through there first and then glue the ribs in. We'll see, then I can set it to the correct dihedral. This is the top wing. I've cut it in half. Well, not in half actually, I've cut the center section out. And before I'm joining it, I thought I would do the ailerons, so they're all set up and gluing. So when they're dry, I'll take them apart and give them a good sanding. Just clear the mess. There's the center section. Quite happy with that. It's a precision part because it has to fit on the cabanes exactly. So I've got the other half of the ply clad rib to go on the end of the wing, and that makes a box then for the struts to fit into. And then the whole thing, once it's joined, the whole wing just glues down onto those top struts, and you've got the struts in the wings, of course. Big moment now. Time to join the wing. So I've got the center section made. I've got my outer ribs to put on as soon as it's glued together. I can put those on at any time, and that will then make the complete box for the cabanes to fit into. They just pull out of that. Just, it's a good fit, you can see. One there and one there. So let's just do it. Actually, it might be an idea to just feed the end grain for a second. I'm not sure if that's going to meet, but I'll put it on anyway. I'm feeding the end grain. Okay, let's do it. This is it. There's nothing more to do. Get it. I'll start by putting white glue in there, I think. It'll work reasonably quick because this goes off quite quickly, you know. You can actually see in there quite well. I can see it's got a nice even coating on it, so that's good. Okay, let's just pop that one in. Do one at a time. Shouldn't have put it in there really. Here we go, straight in there. See, it's gripping it already. Oh, gripping it already. It's alright, I can fix that easy enough. Push that down. Ah, look at that. In my haste, like I put it in back to front. Oh, Cliff, I know, what do you like? There we are, squeezing out. It's got to go all the way in. That's what happens when you rush, you see. Well, we've all done it. Back to front, centre section, back to front wings. Actually, it would have been alright if I'd made the wing back to front and the centre section back to front. All would have been well. It's a good fit. There we go. Goes down, touching. Yep. Not going any more than that. Put that in there, put that under there, put that on there, put that in there, and then we put that one on there, and everything is lining up as it should. That rib needs fixing. So we'll just let that set. It won't take long. So while that's setting, I'll glue these little bits back in, and maybe even the ribs that go on here as well. So that will complete this video, and I'll come back to you. I think the next video is going to be assembling the tail feathers, and then after that the bird cage. So thanks for watching. Hit the little thumbs up button, and if you've learnt something, that is. Don't hit it if you haven't. And if you want to subscribe, if you're not already, hit that little subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video, which will be linked at the end of here when it's edited. Cheers guys.